Hey there, students. Mr. Lamb coming to you with the video of the 8.3 notes. I just realized last week after filming all these that there was no sound that came through, so I have a new microphone. We should be good to go now. So let me jump right into the notes for section 8.3. And we're going to be doing some angle-angle similarity stuff. And proving that two triangles are similar to one another. In order to do that, I guess the first thing that we should probably talk about is what does it mean to be similar. Make sure we have an idea for what this word means. And by definition, I will highlight it for you. If two corresponding angles of one triangle are congruent to two corresponding angles of the second triangle, then the two triangles are similar to one another. And what does that mean to be similar? All right, just so you know, similar means same shape or congruent angles. All right, so it is the same shape, but it is different sizes. All right, those sizes will be what's called proportional to one another. So one of them may be twice as big as the other one, or it's a third the size of one, or it's multiplied by 2/5, or it's multiplied by 7/3, or something like that. We'll be able to find some scale factor. In 8.3, the first type of similarity that we look for, however, is just called angle-angle similarity. That means if you have two triangles, and you have two angles of one triangle congruent to two angles of another triangle, then those two triangles have to be at least similar. Little side note here, if you happen to have at least one of the sides also congruent, then you have congruent triangles, right? And if you remember back, we used what was called angle-angle side or angle-side-angle, right? That is giving you the two angles that you need for similarity, but by throwing a side in there, you can get congruent triangles, all right? When I don't have sides the same length, however, if I just have the two angles, then I will have angle-angle similarity. I can write my similarity statements and everything the same way that I did before. All right, so let's take a look. It says determine if the examples below are similar by AA. And I'm only going to check AA, that's it. I'm going to check and see if two angles of one are congruent to two angles of another. Okay, so as I look at angle number one, the first thing that I can do, this is a good habit to get into. I don't have to do it here, but I can, is find the missing angle, find that third angle. So 75 and 31, so they have to add up to 180. So 180 minus 75 minus 31 is 74. So this missing angle up top is 74. Same thing on the smaller triangle DEF, 75 and 31. That would be 74 as well. So I just need to see 75 congruent to 75, 31 congruent to 31. Yes, AA applies. So AA similarity does apply for this one. If I had to write the similarity statement for these two, the first angle, it really does not matter what order I put it in. I'll call this one triangle ABC. It is similar to the other triangle. And now the second triangle's order does matter. So if I start with angle A, we know that A is congruent to D. So D has to come first. Angle B was 74, angle E was 74, so E has to come second, and then F has to come third. So triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF, and that would be by AA. Jump down here to question number 2. These are what we call bow tie triangles. Bow tie triangles mean that I have vertical angles in the middle that I can use. So now this left triangle, and I'm going to name it by its angles. So triangle, the one with no marks is W, 1 mark is V, 2 marks is X. So WVX is similar to the triangle. And again, I'm going to go in the same order. No marks is Z, 1 mark is Y, 2 marks is X. And because I have 2 angles of the first congruent to 2 angles of the second, then the 2 triangles, yes, are similar by the angle-angle similarity postulate. So I'm just looking for 2 angles of one to be congruent to 2 angles of another. All right, moving on to the second page. Proving triangles are similar. I want to see if I can get angle-angle to apply. So these 2 are bow tie triangles. So my inside angles, those vertical angles are congruent. You will notice the markings on segment CD and segment GF. Those 2 little arrows on there mean that those 2 are parallel. So when parallel lines are cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles, angle C and angle G, are congruent. Right, that is the alternate interior angle theorem. So now I have 2 angles in the left, the small triangle, and 2 triangles in the right triangle are congruent. So yes, this thing is similar. And let's state the small left triangle first. So triangle, no marks is D, 1 mark is E, 2 marks is C. Similar to triangle, I'm going to go in the same order again. No marks is F, 1 mark is E, 2 marks is G. All right. Question number 2. Question number 2 is a little bit different here in the fact that the 2 triangles I have, I'm going to kind of color them in first. All right, this triangle down here is your first triangle. It's the small one. And then the second triangle is going to be the whole big triangle right there. All right, so I'm looking at 2 different triangles. So I have parallel lines cut by a transversal. I'll use the corresponding angle theorem. So angle Q is congruent to angle M. And the second one I'm going to use is, I can do the same thing on the other side. Angle P is congruent to angle N. All right, you may notice that they both use angle L. So I could actually say that angle L is congruent to angle L because of the reflexive property. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to name the small triangle first. So triangle, no marks is L, 1 mark is Q, 2 marks is P, is similar to the big triangle. No marks is L, 1 mark is M, 2 marks is N. And again, I'm just kind of putting these in my own order. There is no right or wrong order to start with as long as your second one does correspond to the first one. All right, question number 3. Now I'm going to have to find angle S. 90 and 39. So 180 minus 90 minus 39 is 51. So this missing angle up here is 51. And really, I only need to find it for the one triangle, because now I can see that 90 is congruent to 90, and 51 is congruent to 51. So I have 2 angles of one congruent to 2 angles of the other. So this is another yes. So triangle, no marks is E, 1 mark is S, and the 90 is Y, is similar to triangle, no marks is H, 1 mark is W, and the 90 is C. So those 2 triangles are similar. All right, question number 4. 68 and 54, so I'll find the missing one. 68 and 54. 68 and 54. Subtract those from 180, I get 58. So this missing one up here is 58. And I see I have a 68 congruent to 68, and 63 does not pair up with either 58 or 54. So I am going to get a no here. No, not similar. These two are not similar. They only have one angle the same. If you're wondering why I'm not checking the third angle on the other side, because remember, if it's going to add up to 180, when I do 68 minus 54, it has to be 58. If that angle E were going to be 58 or 54, the other one was going to have to be 58 or 54. So really, I don't even have to do this one. I can just kind of stop right there. All right, moving on. I'm here to question number 5. My two triangles, I have the small triangle down here in the bottom right. And then I'm going to have the big triangle up here. All right. So I'm going to try to find this angle down in here, this little angle right here, 91 and 67. So 91 and 67. I'll subtract those from 180 at 22. So this angle down here is 22. So I have a 67, a 91, and a 92. And then the big triangle, that's this small one right here. Right, the big triangle is going to be 67, 25. And if I had to find that, it would be 88, just in case you were wondering. So because I only have one angle in them congruent and not two, this one is not similar. All right, and the last one, number 6. Number 6 is bow tie triangles. So I have my vertical angles in the middle. I see that angle P is congruent to angle Z, so yes, I do have two angles congruent in each one. So I'll name the left one with no mark first, Q, 1 mark P, 2 mark X. That is going to be similar to the upper right triangle. No marks is Y, 1 mark is Z, 2 marks is X. Again, make sure that we put those in the corresponding places correctly, but how you name that first triangle is completely up to you. So I hope this helps with 8.3, and now that you can hear my voice doing this, maybe it's a little bit easier than the last video. Thanks for listening, and best of luck.